It's another edition of the Wrap-Up Show with John Schaefer and Jim Russell. We're presented by Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance. If you are new to our channel, please subscribe if you're looking for year-round Padres content. That's why we're here. If you're looking for that year-round Padres content, you see Jim right there. Hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell. You'll be notified when we have new videos. We're posting 3 videos or more per week. Like these videos and also follow us on social media at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. Was Tony Gwynn a snub on this ESPN Top 100 list of the all-time greats in Major League Baseball history? We'll tell you in a moment. But first, let's tell you about our title sponsor at the Wrap-Up Show, Mark Nimitz. I just switched my homeowner's insurance and my earthquake insurance over to Mark at Farmers Insurance. He can help you save over $440 this year. I mean, he can help you save real money if you've got auto, home, renters, or life insurance needs or more. Mark is a San Diegan. He's a huge Padres fan. He'd love to hear from you. He'd love to talk Padres baseball with you. He'd love to help you save money. If you have an electric vehicle, he can help you save money. He's got over a decade of experience in insurance. He's got great customer service and communication. He can take care of your insurance needs in an instant. He can do it so quickly. There is a link down below. If you support this channel, if you have insurance needs in 2022, please click the link down below and support our title sponsor, Mark Nimitz.
All his information is always above my head. Phone number and email address, mnimitz@farmersagent.com. That's mnimitz@farmersagent.com. When you reach out to him, let him know that John and Jim from the Wrap-Up Show sent you.
ESPN, Jim, has this top 100 list that they're compiling that is the top 100 baseball players, in their opinion, in the history of the game. Okay, we've had thousands of players, literally over 10,000 players play the game. They've compiled a top 100 list. Today, they released number 26 through 50. They haven't yet released number 1 through 25. At first blush, I think we were both a little surprised that Tony Gwynn, the greatest pure hitter of the last 50 years, arguably the greatest pure hitter in the history of the game, is 44th, which, again, in the history of the game is a very high number. I mean, 44th in the history of the game is significant, but we're talking about a 338 lifetime hitter, the only member or helping lead the Padres to the World Series the only 2 times they've been to the World Series, in 1984 and 1998. All the batting titles, all the gold gloves, all the silver sluggers. What do you think? I mean, I thought initially 44 to me, that seems too low. I think he should be higher on the list.
Well, my first thought was, okay, let me see the list. Like, who is above Tony Gwynn? So Tony's at 44. All right, George Brett, 43. I mean, okay, that makes sense. Nolan Ryan, okay.
Right. So
that
big names.
Big names. Satchel Paige, okay. I'm
right, exactly.
Okay, that's a question mark. Jimmy Fox, that makes sense. Yogi Berra, okay, that makes sense. Jackie Robinson, okay, that makes sense.
Right.
Joe Morgan, okay. This one right here, I don't know who this is. Apologies to the
right. Well, we're going
family.
back 100 years. You're going back 100 years. Yeah.
But you look at his stats. I mean, look at his WAR. 134 WAR. Like, what the hell, man? That's crazy.
So you're basically saying, though, like, it's hard when you look at the actual list. You say, well, okay, 44. When I heard it, I'm like, come on, Tony Gwynn's not the 44th greatest player in the history of the sport. He's higher than that. But then when you consider Pete Rose isn't in the top 25, right. Nolan Ryan isn't in the top 25, Bob Gibson, Sandy Koufax. I mean, who is in the top 25?
Yeah, Mariano Rivera. It's interesting because he's a closer.
But come in for workout gear.
What do we got there? A little music?
A little music from ESPN. But 44. I mean, 44th. I guess that now there's a couple other names there. Albert Pujols is in that list, and then you also have Alex Rodriguez is 26th, and then Derek Jeter is higher than Albert Pujols. Like,
yeah.
Sorry to Yankees fans right now, but I got to say this. I think Derek Jeter is a great player, but I think he's a little overrated. I think he's overhyped. I'm sorry.
I think he's a lot overhyped.
Like, it's just, yeah, he won a bunch of World Series and he was the captain of those teams, but if we're looking at his statistics and metrics based on today's game, overhyped. Sorry. It's just that. I'm sorry. I know Yankees fans will like destroy me, but who cares? I'm sorry. I can't tell the truth.
Let me ask you this. If Tony Gwynn played his career in either New York with the Yankees or Boston with the Red Sox or even in LA with the Dodgers, would he be more in the echelon of where Derek Jeter is on this list, which is top 30? The answer for me is yes.
Yeah.
Now, it's not his fault, quote unquote, so to speak, that he was on a team that didn't win a World Series. I mean, he helped get the Padres to the only 2 World Series they've had in the history of the franchise. Does Jeter benefit from winning those 4 titles in 5 years? Yeah, absolutely he does. But when I think about the great players in the history of the game, I'm less concerned with postseason success. I mean, like you said, we're talking about Tris Speaker in 1920.
Right.
I mean, the game was different. There wasn't even a playoff, Jim. There was a World Series. You won a pennant, and you were in the only playoff series. It was the World Series. So, like, postseason success, yeah, Derek Jeter's postseason success is unbelievable. But we're talking about the greatest players in the history of the game. It's what you do during the 162 that's way more valuable for me. So, I mean, again, I think if Gwynn played in a larger market, I think if Gwynn won a World Series, he'd be higher on the list. But it is hard to argue with what he did at the plate. I mean, 338, 394, obviously, during the strike season. Could have hit 400 that year. What he's done in the last 50 years, nobody has really come close. I mean, who's comparable in batting average the last 50 years? Ichiro? Wade Boggs? So when I think greatest hitter of all time, arguably, is the 44th best player in the history of Major League Baseball. That's where, to me, there's a little bit of an issue.
Right. And looking at these players on this list, what did Derek Jeter do that was the greatest of all time? Exactly.
Yeah, one World Series.
George Brett, great player, but is he considered the greatest at something of his generation? No. That's my point is Tony Gwynn is argued as the greatest hitter of all time, maybe second behind Ted Williams.
Sure.
Like you could put him in the top 2. And the names I read on that list, while all just,
great players,
amazing players. And maybe I could argue like, okay, Mariano Rivera, greatest closer of all time. Okay. So he was the greatest at his position ever. Tony is a better hitter than all of those players, and so to say you're the greatest at something, I mean, maybe you gotta be a little higher, but also maybe we're kind of looking at this like 44th out of millions of, thousands and thousands of players. That's actually pretty damn good.
All right, stay with us because much more on the Tony Gwynn discussion in a moment, but we want to tell you about our newest sponsor, Aura. Aura is a new sponsor of the Wrap-Up Show here on YouTube. They are a natural supplement and plant-based nutrition company. They've got the healthiest supplements on the market. It's that simple, and their co-founder, Will, is a San Diegan and a huge Padres fan with an unbelievable offer. 30% off your first order at Aura.organic. There is a link down below. Use promo code WRAPUP. I've been taking this probiotic every single day. It is life-changing. It really is. Probiotics, if you've never taken them, are life-changing. I've taken them for years. This is the best probiotic I've ever taken. And again, Jim, with promo code WRAPUP at the link down below, you'll get 30% off your first order.
Yeah, they have a bunch of different supplements on their website right now. The number one thing I'm doing is taking this pre-workout before every one of my workouts. The flavor is delicious, raspberry lemonade flavor. The best part about this pre-workout is it's the cleanest pre-workout on the market. It will not get you all jittery once you take it. And once you're done with your workout, you won't crash. Most pre-workouts, after your workout, you completely crash because of the caffeine spike. That's not it with this. That's not it. This thing will give you a great workout without all of the side effects. Promo code WRAPUP, 30% off your first order, www.aura.organic. Telling you, go out there right now, get some probiotics, get some protein powder, get some pre-workouts, all of it. 30% off your first order, promo code WRAPUP. And now let's get back to talking about Tony Gwynn on ESPN's top 100 list.
Here's where he's hurt, Jim. I mean, you and I can agree. It's a sport predicated on power, at least in the last 100 years, since Babe Ruth. He didn't hit for power. He could have, by the way. I really believe he could have hit for more power, if he wanted to, but he understood the value of getting on base. He was kind of ahead of his time in that regard. Here's the other thing. In the second half of his career, he didn't play a lot of full seasons. And when you look at his career WAR, which I think is drastic, I mean, listen, let's use our 2 eyes when it comes to a player like Tony Gwynn. Let's use that when we evaluate his abilities just as much, if not more so, than WAR. I mean, his career WAR is like 70, but give me a break. 3,000 hits, 338. Look at his batting numbers against some of the great pitchers in his era. They're unbelievable. You couldn't strike him out. His on-base percentages are through the roof. Like a career 400 on-base percentage is unbelievable. Right. So I think he's hurt by a lack of power. I think he's hurt by the fact that he literally wasn't healthy at times in the second half of his career. And I think he's hurt by the fact that what's that?
And his teams weren't good.
But he was actually on some good teams by Padres standards, right? 84, 96, 98.
Right. But that's not enough.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Other players were on teams where they were winning, like George Brett, World Series, you know, Bob Gibson, Sandy Koufax, Pete Rose, Mariano Rivera, Albert Pujols, Derek Jeter. Like, I'm talking about the guys that are ahead of Tony on this list. What do you make of Alex Rodriguez at 26th?
I don't like it. I mean, if you look at his numbers, they are gaudy, but he's not a guy that had postseason success. He's a guy obviously tied to steroids, which is fine. I would put that group of players in the Hall of Fame, but I don't think I need to give him the benefit of the doubt as the 26th greatest player of all time. Listen, he was an unbelievable player. There's no question about that. He was an unbelievable player. I'd put him below Pujols. I'll tell you that right now. And I'd put Jeter below Pujols. When I'm thinking about the top 25, I mean, to our collective points, listen, the top 25 is going to be loaded. I mean, Babe Ruth is in the top 25. Barry Bonds is exactly. I mean, it's going to be absolutely loaded. I'm not saying Tony Gwynn deserves to be ranked higher than Babe Ruth in the hierarchy of players in the history of the game, or even, to your point, Ted Williams. But I do think he would be considered to be a comparable player to a Ted Williams. Most people believe that. He just didn't play for the Red Sox.
Right. I 100% agree. And then Tony, I mean, 44th is still pretty damn good.
It is good.
It's pretty damn good for all the circumstances around Tony, with the teams he was on, and to do what he did, to be if not the best hitter of all time. 44th, it could be worse. Like if he was like 65th or something, then we'd be like, okay, what are we doing here? 44th, and then you look at the list and you're like, okay, that makes sense. That makes sense. There's maybe like in the 50 to 26 player range, and then Tony's at 44th. Everybody below Tony, there's maybe like 2 or 3 players, maybe 4 players, and I'm like, I don't know about that one. So that's actually not that bad when you think about it. If it was like, okay, yeah, no, he's better than him, then it's like becoming like this is a joke. But there's pretty damn good players ahead of Tony, and you kind of have to respect it.
That is fair, and he never won an MVP.
Right.
You know, I mean, there's some things he didn't accomplish that I think to some extent are actually outside of his control. You don't control whether you're the MVP or not. You control if you hit 394, and he did. You control if you hit 350. He had seasons he's hitting 370, Jim, for a full year. He's hitting 350 for a full year.
And the shortened season.
And then to your point, like, he didn't win a World Series. Like, how many of those players in front of him won a World Series? I would gather most of the 43 players in front of him have won a World Series. How many of those players won a Cy Young or an MVP? I would gather most of those players did that. But again, I think that as Mr. Padre, he was hurt by the market to some extent. I think you put him on a preeminent franchise, St. Louis, New York, not the Mets, but the Yankees, Boston, LA, San Francisco. I think it probably changes his legacy in the game. His legacy is so secure in San Diego. It's the most secure sporting legacy in the history of the city.
Mr. Padre.
Okay. But outside of San Diego, I wonder if it's as stable as it should be. I wonder if he gets the consideration that he should for being among the absolute giants of the game.
He should. And he should be on like a list of players that if you're making a dream team, I mean, you have to consider Tony Gwynn because of like a prime Tony Gwynn. I mean, dude, can you like, it's just, I mean, creating a lineup of players, Tony is considered, like, you have to consider Tony. It's just a fact because of the way he played, the way he hit. Prime Tony, steal bases, Gold Glove outfielder, will hit you 340. I mean, it's hard to beat.
Let me ask you this, Jim. Has there ever been, I mean, this is one of the most amazing seasons in baseball history. In 1987, Tony Gwynn hit 370.
Mhm.
His OPS was 958. He stole 56 bases.
Is that good?
I mean, that was in modern baseball. I mean, that was 35 years ago. It wasn't 1927. He stole 56 bags and had a 958 OPS. I don't know if there's a comparable season to that in baseball history. I really don't know if there is. But to your point, his prime seasons, even quote unquote outside of his prime, I mean, he hit 300 every single year other than his rookie year.
Right.
It's just an amazing legacy. It really is.
Yeah.
To your point, I mean, we're talking about a list. We're talking about an ESPN list.
And lists are so I always shy away from talking about lists because you can never truly quantify a list because it's just a bunch of opinions. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So a list are lists, and I think the more important thing is not the list, but just once again, talking about Tony,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and bringing up his career and talking about him and making sure that he is remembered as one of the greats of the game. And that's what you want to do. And I think that's what this list is kind of doing is like, hey, remember this player? Oh my God, I totally forgot. Yes, I do. Let's talk about how great he was.
Comment down below. Too high, too low, just right. Where should Tony Gwynn be ranked among the best 100 baseball players in the history of Major League Baseball? Also, this reminder, if you are new to this channel, please subscribe. We have year-round exclusive Padres content. You can hit the subscribe button down below. Hit the notification bell as well. You'll be notified when we have new videos. Smash the like button. Follow us on Twitter at John Schaefer, at Jim Russell SD. Please support our partners as well, making this wrap-up show possible. Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance. Aura, 30% off your first order with promo code WRAPUP. There's a link down below. And if you're purchasing Padres tickets in 2022, do so with us through StubHub with the Fan Protect Guarantee. There is a link down below. Until next time, this has been the wrap-up show right here with John and Jim, presented by Mark Nimitz at Farmers Insurance.